Hello, my friend. A very blessed Saturday, January 4th, 2025 to you and to yours. I pray that this finds you well from wherever and whenever you are tuning in. And I'm wishing you a wonderful first weekend of 2025. The message for today is you are bigger than it. Nothing is bigger than you. You are bigger than it. Subtitle: The Cold Shower Challenge. Now, stick with me all the way to the end, and that subtitle will make sense. So, I was reminded of this concept that nothing is bigger than me, listening to Myron Golden. He's a teacher that I've come to love and follow. I love how he just intertwines the truth of Scripture with life lessons and business as a whole. I love especially the amount of wisdom that he's able to extract just from the first book of Genesis. And allow me to share with you some of his perspectives on that and share some of my reflections as well. So let me take you to Genesis chapter 1 and verses 26 all the way to 28. This is how it reads. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." So, a couple of points that Myron makes is that the very first thing that God tells us about himself is Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. And he said, I guess the first thing that God tells us about himself when he introduces himself to us must be important. And of everything that God is, he starts by telling us that he is a creator. God made the heavens and the earth. And so, because you and I are created in his image, it follows that we too are creators. We are creative just like him. And then, verses 28 is the first conversation Myron points out that God had with the man that he had created in his image. And Myron makes the point that the very first thing God says to the very first man of all time must be very important. And within that instruction, you and I can find what our ultimate purpose in life is. And this was that first conversation, verses 28. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Now, I've come to a place of understanding that our primary goal or purpose in life is to be, to do, and to have everything that God has ordained for us to be, to do, and to have. But listening to Myron teach on that brought even more perspective, because that threefold purpose is expressed right there in verse 28. Be fruitful, be. Do multiply. Do fill the earth. Do subdue the earth. And then you will have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Be, do, have. So, I won't get into a lot of the details of that. Just listen to Myron Golden when he talks about some of those things. It will just blow your mind. But the message for the day is that you are bigger than anything that comes your way. And I also heard this from Myron, because he said that the moment you and I set out to be, do, and have, anytime we set intention is always followed by opposition. Intention is always followed by disruption, Myron calls it. And it's up to us, when we are in the business of being the creatives that God has made us to be. In other words, from the creativity that God has put within us creating things with which to fill and replenish the earth with, we will be met with disruption, we will be met with opposition. And when that comes, we are supposed to subdue it, to subdue the opposition. That word means to trample down. And Byron makes a couple of important points. He says that means that anything that comes in your way, that's an obstacle, you have the ability to subdue it and to trample upon it. Number one, it means that you are bigger than it, it's smaller than you, and you have the authority and capacity to overcome it. Myron continues to say that he has never met an obstacle that has stopped him. That obstacles can slow you down, but they cannot stop you. Now, they might convince you to stop, but that's your decision. The obstacle itself does not have the capacity to stop you. Anytime I encounter a problem, say I'm trying to do something that's giving me trouble, I always speak to the thing and I tell it, listen, you are a keyboard. You are mindless. I am the human being. I have the mind and the capacity of God. You will know, I will figure you out, right? I usually use that mantra to remind myself that in this equation, I am the human being. That thing is just a thing. That obstacle is just an obstacle. I have authority over it. I'm reminded of Isaiah 54:17 that says that no weapon that is fashioned against you and me shall stand. That verse continues to say that we will refute every tongue that opposes us. Fast forward in Luke 10:19, and these are Jesus' words to his disciples, and he says, I have given you authority to trample on every snake and scorpion, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing shall hurt you. Nothing shall harm you. The last time I checked, my brother, my sister, nothing means nothing. Nothing can stop you. You have the authority to overcome it. Per the words of Jesus, you have the authority to refute that tongue that's levied against you, according to Isaiah. And all the way back in Genesis, you have the authority to subdue it. Nothing in your past can stop you unless you allow it. I don't care how negative that past might be. No adversity can stop you unless you let it. No lack of resources can stop you, because God has given you not just provision for the vision that you have, but he's given you the resourcefulness to figure it out if you will turn on that godlike ability. Listen, sometimes our biggest enemy is ourselves. It's the man in the mirror. It's the inner critic that tries to put us down and stop us. But I love a verse in one of the epistles of John that says that even when our hearts condemn us, God is bigger than our hearts. There is nothing, there is no opposition that can come in your way. So my friend, you've seen me do this analogy long enough. I'm in my office. I just turned off the light in the office. Wait a minute, my laptop is here, it's on. I'm gonna close it because there's some light that is coming. out of the laptop screen. Well, they say sometimes the blessing of being a black man is at least people can see your teeth. But listen, the only reason you're able to see any glimpse of me or even my teeth is because there is still a little light in this room. I've shown it to you before. I have my trusty candle going. And no matter the darkness in this room, it cannot overcome this sole single flame of light. This light cuts through the darkness to bring illumination, to bring an ambience or aura, to bring an aroma, it's a scented candle, and to bring warmth. And when you choose to shine your light, you can subdue whatever darkness comes your way. So, my friend, in conclusion, let there be light. And there was light. By the way, I was reading that verse early and I got some pretty good ideas. Maybe that's a post for another day. I want to encourage you to understand that there is nothing that is bigger than you, that there is nothing that can stop you. I always remind myself of that fact. And that if you stick with your dream long enough, if you stick with your creativity long enough, if you stick with that vision that God has given you long enough, something's gotta give. Push until something happens. Pray until something happens. Passionately follow your goal until something happens in 2025. A lot of us stop shy of our 3 feet of gold. If you remember that analogy of Derby who stopped mining, and unknown to him, he was just 3 feet away from the biggest supply of gold ever known to man. Listen, the darkness is always darkest right at the point of the break of dawn. Persist, my friend. So, the cold shower challenge. I know you've kind of been waiting and wondering, what does that have to do with the price of sliced bread? So, I once heard that it's a good idea after you've taken a warm shower for about 30 seconds or so to turn it over to the cold side. That there are some physiological and psychological benefits of shocking your system like that. It's a practice that I've intended and made the intention to do every single day I take a shower. And so for me, after I've enjoyed my nice warm shower, when it's all said and done, I flip the dial over to the cold side. Now that it's winter, it has been a very interesting experience. It's kind of taken me back to my high school boarding days in June and July in Kenya. That's winter in Kenya. And man, the shower place was dry because people would take showers economically. And the showers were super, super cold. But I've kind of added a little extra layer of meaning to this exercise. In addition to the physiological and psychological benefits, every time I turn the dial to the cold side, I tell myself, this is to show me that nothing today is bigger than me. That I can handle whatever adversity comes my way. I am bigger than it. And when I flip it over and the water starts to turn, I don't look at it like, with fear. I welcome it. And I enjoy it, and I remind myself that I am bigger than it. I remind myself of 3 things. That the only being I am under is God. He's the only one that's bigger than me. As far as human beings, no human being is bigger than me, and I'm no bigger than any other human being. We are equal. Anything else that falls outside of the realm of God and other human beings is under me, and I can subdue it. Will you take the cold water challenge, cold shower challenge with me? whether that's literal or figurative. Either way, remember that you're bigger than anything that may come your way. You're bigger than it. Trample it, subdue it, silence it by the godness that is in and that is you. Here's to achieving our goals and our dreams. Here's to asking big and setting the bar high. Let's go get it in 2025. Blessings to you and yours.